Hey, Kate, it is so great to talk to you. I'm so glad that you're back on this season. It really needed you. You came in at just the right time.
Thank you. I was very surprised. I'm sure everyone else was as well.
So, take me back all the way to the beginning, your first round table that you crash at the last minute. Obviously, you're like a little bit late to the game, so you're like looking around trying to pick up clues. Right off the bat, like who gave you a really good first impression? Like, oh, they seem really trustworthy, and who like had red flags going up for you right away?
Going in, I was so excited to see my fellow Bravo faces. Um, MJ and I already knew each other, and so I had very good trust built with her already. I wasn't sure if she was a traitor or not, but I feel like I would have been able to tell because I know her. Those CBS gamers, however, I was suspicious of Parvati. I was suspicious of Dan. And at my first roundtable, it seemed like Dan was very on the offense more than on the deep. Like, wait, no, I'm not great at sports. He was on the defense.
And you're like, oh, that must mean like there's something has been brewing here.
Dan was giving traitor vibes for sure.
Yeah, skipping ahead to that second round table, and he was even more, or he's went from the defense to the offense. And I feel like you were one of those people who was on Phaedra's side and saw through his arguments. What about it wasn't adding up to you that made you want to speak out?
Two things made me want to speak out at the round table between Phaedra and Dan. One, I really did believe Dan was a traitor because, I mean, I've played this game before and he didn't give me a team player vibe. It was kind of like a lone wolf vibe. And number two, I was going to stick up for Phaedra whether she was a traitor or not because, you can only get one out tonight and I'd rather it not be a Bravo girl.
That makes sense. Now, we saw after Dan was exposed as a traitor and he left the game from an interview with Trishelle where she was like, oh, I feel like that tipped me off a bit that maybe Phaedra could be a traitor too. At that point in the game, did you have any suspicion because of how the way things played out that maybe Phaedra could be a traitor too?
Rochelle was not the only person that after that roundtable was like looking at Phaedra. And frankly, Dan gave the faithfuls that gift. I'm surprised it was even really allowed because his logic was good, right? If he somehow managed to convince the table that Phaedra was the traitor and we banished her, and then she would reveal herself as a traitor, suddenly he's the hero. So it was a failed attempt on his part. And I think after that, Phaedra was on everybody's radar.
So the next morning, nobody was murdered. Everyone's at the breakfast table and everyone's thinking that there was a recruitment. Now, you've been through this before when Ari was recruited. So what was your thought process or theory at that time as to who got tapped and if they said yes or no?
The next morning, there's been no murder. And I think I didn't know the people well enough to really form ideas about who was the one recruited. Um, and you're always kind of disappointed when somebody gets recruited because now somebody you've trusted or you thought you trusted could now be on the other side.
Did it become any more clear after breakfast when the two alliances started breaking off into different rooms and certain people weren't allowed in certain rooms?
So later in the day and late at this point in the game, it's definitely become a castle divided. And that was something new that I did not experience in season one so much. Like down the middle, there's one team and another team. And I just thought it was a very foolish move on the Peter pilot group because listen, there's no way all of us that you're excluding are traitors, but you're definitely annoying all of us. And at some points, the traitors is kind of a popularity contest a little bit because, when you're deciding who to banish, who to murder, whether you're a traitor or faithful, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to go with whoever annoys me a little bit more. If you're flipping a coin, I think he got a little big for his britches. I will give him credit that he had a very good strategy in setting that trap. But then once that trap worked, I think he felt like he was class president. And you're going to have to make an appointment to talk to me.
Now, I love the scene of they're all in one room, you're in the pool table room, and Sandra's going through with all the pool balls and saying, hey, like this is really a numbers game. This is about alliances. It's not just about the traitors. Tell us about your experience of that moment, because I know she talked on Instagram too about how it's not even just about where the traitors are, it's about working together to make sure that we're the faithfuls that get to the end, which is so smart.
It was such a movie, like or such a movie moment. Like we were the outcast, we were the underdogs, and she rallied us together and gave us hope. And watching her map it out, she's like, I was doing this last night with salt and pepper packets, and this is what happened. It was spectacular to watch, and she was brilliant. And I think it really gave us all a new breath of enthusiasm that we needed at that point, because it really did feel like Peter was trying to take over the game.
And so what was your strategy coming out of that room? What was the goal?
My goal was stick to Sandra's idea. Now we are our own team and we're a bigger team. And it was like all of us girls, all the Bravo girls and CT. I felt like Ocean's 8. I kept saying, you know, it was just such an eclectic mix of personalities, but we were going to pull this caper off.
I love that. Now you said CT. We saw he gave like a little bit of information to Peter in the last episode too. Did you know at the time that he was kind of playing the middle?
I think CT has been playing these kind of games for his entire adult life. So I think he's so good at, is he playing the middle? Is he not playing the middle? Is he just not taking sides? Is he taking both sides? The truth is CT's really strong in the physical missions. So that's an asset in itself that you kind of overlook, whether he's, you know, talking to both sides.
Mm-hmm. And while we're on the note of CT, I'm loving everything that's coming out about him and Phaedra. I feel like they just have such a fun connection. What was it like to witness that? Did you notice that bond building in the castle?
Oh, certainly. You know, I came in mid-season, and when I sat down at that first roundtable, I felt like I was watching a comedy show, because so many personalities that I've watched on TV over the years. I mean, I watched The Real World. I've watched The Challenge when I was younger. You know, all so different, mixing together. So to see Phaedra and CT on every mission really partnering up, I thought it was just because she didn't love, you know, the physical exertion, like climbing up a mountain. And so since he's so strong, he was like, well, I'm going to help keep you safe.
So obviously we got the twist that there was no roundtable that night. If there had been a roundtable, who do you think would have gone home?
I think if there had been a roundtable, because we were so freshly enthused by Sandra's pool table demonstration, I think there was a good chance Peter would have gone home, certainly.
And of course, we know he was saved by that safety chain. What decision in that giving each other fire were you most surprised by? Did anyone pick someone you weren't expecting?
I was surprised when Sheree picked Phaedra, not because I didn't think Bravo girls should stick together. I was just like, don't make it so obvious.
Do you think anyone was going to choose you? Who were you hoping?
I knew no one was going to choose me. So it was kind of annoying for me, because they gave me this very unattractive trench coat, made me wear my hair up because of the fire and for safety, which I respect. But I'm just standing there like, I'm in the woods watching everybody pick each other, and they shouldn't pick me. I just got here. So I was not expecting to get chosen.
You talked about having your hair up and what you were wearing, and I have to say that your style in the castle is also incredible. What was like your inspiration packing to go?
Well, last season, my first season, I had a Pinterest board and I was really inspired. This time I had less time to prepare. So I really just went for blazers, plaids, you know, castle glam.
So we saw at the very end of the episode, you're one of the people that is like potentially up to be murdered along with 3 others. And Phaedra and Parvati are up there talking in the turret, and they say that potentially down the line, if they got the opportunity, you could be a good person to recruit. Now, we don't know what happens, but like theoretically, had you thought at that point, like, if I get recruited to be a traitor, would I say yes? What would I do?
Well, when I watched the first season back and I saw when Ari got recruited, I was like so jealous, because I want to know what the turret looks like. So when I wasn't chosen to be a faithful, I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Seeing that Phaedra and Parvati were considering recruiting me, it's just a very high compliment, you know?
Now, you know, obviously watching back that Peter was recruited. What is your opinion on his decision to say no?
I'm not surprised at all that Peter said no to the recruitment, because one thing I did to like figure out, get to know people quickly, I was like, do you have any pets? Did you grow up with any pets? And I kind of figured that people who have cats would be more likely to be traitors, and people who have dogs would be more likely to be faithful because they're more loyal. And Peter had like the cutest Tibetan terrier named Buddy. So I just am not surprised that he was like, I'm a faithful.
Faithful through and through, I guess. Yeah. Do you think that it was a mistake, though?
I don't think it was a mistake because I don't think Peter would have been a good traitor.
He knew his limitations. So we have no idea what's coming up in next Thursday's episode. What can you hint or tease to us about what fans can expect?
This season of Traitors has already been so amazing, so good, appointment television. And I think everyone's going to be so shocked. There are very many twists and turns and surprises coming up. People that you once were cheering for, you won't be cheering for. People that you weren't cheering for, you will be. People you didn't think would go home are going home. So it's going to be great.
Okay, well, I cannot wait to see it. Thank you so much, Kate. I really appreciate your time.